Then wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So let us begin with our satsang on the advanced understanding of Vyavasthit. And as we begin this, let us have a Trimantra from Fabi. Fabi, please sing the Trimantra.
Namo Vitragai, Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sitanam, Namo Yariyanam, Namo Vasayanam, Namo Loe Savasaunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Savapava Panashano, Mangalanam Chasavesim, Padaman Havai Mangalam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Jai Satchitanam. Namo Vitragai, Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sitanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vasayanam, Namo Loe Savasaunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Savapava Panashano, Mangalanam Chasavesim, Padaman Havai Mangalam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Jai Satchitanam. Namo Vitragai, Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sitanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vasayanam, Namo Loe Savasaunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Savapava Panashano, Mangalanam Chasavesim, Padaman Havai Mangalam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Jai Satchitanam. Jai Satchitanam. Jai Satchitanam.
Jai Satchitanam.
Jai Satchitanam.
Thank you, Jai Satchitanam. The Monica doesn't need to be concerned about what happened. The streaming problem is not Monica's fault. It is the narrow bandwidth of her internet when she is playing the artis. So, for those who have poor internet, they can only play the audio. When the bhakti is going on, if you just play the audio, that is good. Everybody can listen to the audio too. And it will not cut.
Dice Shuddha que, Mónica, no es tu problema que tengas problemas con internet, que que todos podemos cerrar la pantalla y solo escuchar el audio y así seguimos.
Yeah, so if you just either cut down the size,
Gracias.
yes, just cut down the size, find out how you cut down the size of the screen. If it is very small, like right now for each one of us, the screen is small. So if the screen is small, or you can just share the audio. The video is not necessary because the video will keep on cutting, you see, and so then you will have a smooth bhakti.
Y dice que podés achicar la pantalla porque lo más importante es lo que se dice, la música, y vamos a tener entonces un bhakti muy suave.
Claro, la diferencia es técnica entre compartir audio y video. Entonces,
Exacto.
claro, te
Pido
sugiere que solo...
disculpas.
No, mamón, eso es lo que está diciendo
Ayer
que no tenés
hice
que
la
hacer.
prueba.
Y que no es tu culpa además, Moni.
No, ya lo sé. Ayer hice la prueba y salió perfecta, así que es todo mérito de Marcela esto. Así que pido disculpas. ¿Sí?
No, it is just if you have a very tiny tap on your sink, even if there is a lot of water, only that much water will come out, you see. So that's how it is. It is, everybody's sink is different, you see.
Está haciendo la comparación con una pileta. Si tenemos una tapa que permite salir un poquitito de agua nada más, que es lo que está pasando con la fluidez de internet, solo va a pasar un poquito de agua aunque tengas un montón de agua en la pileta por salir.
Y la próxima era audio solo. Audio solamente.
Yeah, sometimes the speed is fast, then it's all right. Okay. Now we can see the two of you very nicely, and the sound is fine because you're not sharing a large file with a video, you see. Okay, so we let us continue with our understand satsangs on the Vyavasthit, and I will share the screen. I have given you the link, and we go. It's in the serial sections. It's actually the 57th session of Understanding Vyavasthit, but it's 18th or 19th on this Aptasutras. All right, so let me share the screen now. All right, so this is the Aptasutra, and this the original translation had one more Aptasutra that helps with this understanding. So I'm going to add that. So if you add that, in fact, let me just the Gujarati had that, and in fact. Yes, so let me share that Aptasutra, and then you can add that. So I will add that in your chat.
Sorry, Shuddha. The link you share with us is Dadavane July 2010.
Oh, okay. I gave you I gave you the wrong.
Ahora va a poner el link correcto en el chat.
Yes, my dear. Yes. It is 2019, right? You need 2019. So I'll give it to you in a minute, okay? Thank you for pointing that out. Let me give you this sutra. And the additional sutra. So while you type that, oops. If you see this in the second part, there is another addition there in the chat that you need to add at the bottom of the Aptasutras, you see, and while I bring out the right link, okay?
Ok.
February 6th, this is 2019, right? Yes. So I'll give you this link here. This the only thing that I'm trying to say this is the original Gujarati has that. Maybe when they did the final version, they cut off that additional Aptasutra number 98, you see, and that the additional Aptasutra 98 helps in the understanding of this, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Acá,
Yeah, go on, Patricia.
Cuando hicieron la traducción se olvidaron o sacaron el Aptasutra 98, que es muy necesario para poder entender lo que sigue. Así que ahora Shuddha lo está compartiendo con nosotros.
Yeah, it's the previous Aptasutra that we did last week was Aptasutra 97, you see. And the next Aptasutra is added here at the end of this Aptasutra, which is essentially what he says is Avasthit means the battery that was charged, and Vyavasthit means the battery that discharges. You see, that is the Aptasutra. I've given it to you in the chat.
Esto lo dio en el chat y dice, bueno, acá al final está el 98, el Aptasutra 98, que dice que Avasthit es la carga y Avasthit es la descarga.
So the sutra begins now. When is Vyavasthit formed? It is when someone instigates you and you become engrossed in that. Then there you became Avasthit, you see. That means you became absorbed in that effect, you see. Tanmayakar is the other word. Tanmayakar. You became Avasthit, you see. You became Damian, you became Monica, you see. And that itself is the formation of Vyavasthit.
Avasthit es carga, es absorber, dice cuándo se forma esto, y esto se forma cuando absorbemos el efecto. Tanmayakar también es una palabra para nombrarlo, y ahí es cuando nos volvemos Mónica, Damián y Avasthit.
So Avasthit means the charge, the battery that was charged. The Avasthit means the battery that was charged, and Vyavasthit means the discharging of that battery.
Avasthit es la batería que fue cargada y Avasthit es la descarga de esa batería que fue cargada.
So if you see two people talking and then one of them becomes angry suddenly, that means that person you just said that he became angry, but really this understanding shows that because he became involved in what was being said, you see, he became Avasthit, you see. But that is how it was charged, and now it is discharging. It was charged in that last life. So the fight that happened is the result of what had happened in the last life, you see.
Por ejemplo, si hay dos personas que están hablando y una se enoja de repente por lo que se dijo, veo que la otra persona se enoja y entonces se involucró en lo dicho. Entonces esto es algo que así fue cargada y ahora se está descargando. Fue cargado en la vida pasada y ahora está descargándose.
Dadashri now proceeds. He is saying, we are giving you some analogy of what Vyavasthit is.
Dadashri dice, les damos una analogía de lo que es Vyavasthit.
Now, if one wanted to find the root of Vyavasthit today, then how can it be found? So say if a person who has attained Gnan were to come here and someone else does something slightly wrong towards him or to him, you see. At that time, the visible physical action is called Dravya Kriya. The visible physical action is called Dravya Kriya. It's visible. Everybody can see that his face became red or he became upset, you see. The visible physical Kriya, the activity, will inevitably take place, and it will certainly be wrong. However, the developing eye, or the one inside with the knowledge, the one inside, you see, the developing eye, not the one inside, in ignorance now, the developing eye, the bhavo inside, the self, the one who believes I am Patricia, becomes involved in it, you see. It is because the Dravya Kriya is in the mind, in the chit, in the intellect, in the ego, you see. All of this. And moreover, the developing eye becomes involved in it. You see, this is happening inside, and the developing eye, or the pote, or the one who believes I am this body, you see. I don't like to use the word developing eye here. In fact, it is just the one who believes I am this body. In ignorance, he just believes I am this body, you see. Developing eye is it's a high level of understanding for the ones in Akram Vignan, you see. Somebody is so the person becomes involved in it. It's happening in the mind, in the chit, in the intellect, in the ego, but the person, because he believes this is happening to me, he becomes involved in it, you see.
Pues bien, si una persona quisiera encontrar la raíz de Vyavasthit hoy, ¿cómo podría hacerlo? Por ejemplo, si viniera aquí una persona que no ha alcanzado el Gnan y otra persona cometiera un error para con él, en ese momento inevitablemente habría una acción física visible, Dravya Kriya, que sin lugar a dudas no sería la apropiada. Sin embargo, el yo, en minúsculas, en desarrollo, se involucra en él. Es así debido a que el Dravya Kriya está en la mente, en el chit, en el intelecto, en el ego. Más aún, el yo en desarrollo se identifica con él. O sea que la mente se identifica con esa persona. Esto es para los que no han tomado el Gnani. Es para... No le gusta usar la palabra desarrollo, ayuda, porque es para como un nivel muy elevado en el Akram.
Have we, remind me, have we not corrected this? This is the version that is the old version, you see, and I had instructed, because I do this with the Portuguese people too, I have given them my original the Adavani of October 2019, and I told them to switch to my version, you see. Have we not?
Ceci, este es el que yo tengo que corregir.
Have we not correct?
Okay, Shuddha, it is in my waiting list. This is the next thing I will correct, and we can start using it next week. Sorry.
Okay, so what is
We
this?
have the new one. Yes.
Yeah,
we
right.
have your version to be
Yeah, right.
corrected
So
in
what you
Spanish.
so send it to me, Fabi. Send it to me so that, because as you go on, otherwise we will be wasting time correcting it. Like for
Okay.
instance, you see, if you see,
I will review it this week and send it to you.
yeah,
right
right,
back.
yeah, right. You don't
Okay.
need to. If you're, yeah. Okay, thank you. Because I was just wondering why.
Sorry.
Okay, all right, okay,
It
all
was
right.
because I was not able. Sorry.
Okay, no, not a problem. Not a problem. I just get confused between the two groups. Okay, all right. So let me come back to this. You see, if you read my version, you will find this much more easier to understand. Follow along. You see.
Sorry, I have a question now. Do you want me to add the 98?
Yeah, right. Yes,
in
add
your
that.
version
Yeah,
also?
add. Yeah,
Okay.
because mine has the thing. You see, mine will
Okay.
have the thing, and also, then all you have to do is to just switch. Wherever you see this, because you see all of this. However, the developing eye becomes involved in it. It's this thing is a very complicated understanding. It's just really just the self. Just say the self becomes involved in it. And the self is only the small self. The small self, Fabi, Monica, her man gets involved in it. You see, it's involved in it, and it because this is happening. All of this is happening in the mind, chit, intellect, and ego. Whatever is happening in the mind, chit, intellect, and ego, it is happening to the non-self, you see. And that is only after the awakening, you see. So we are able to see it and remain separate, you see.
Acá Shuddha dice que cuando habla del ser con minúsculas, y que todo lo que sucede en la mente, el chit, el intelecto y el ego, todo está sucediéndole al que se involucra en eso, ¿no? No al ser con mayúsculas.
My friends, if we look at each other here, we are all the self. Who am I? The self. Okay? In ignorance, we identify. Can you tell me more about the self? And then in ignorance, if we don't have the Gnan Vidhi, we'll say, I am this body. I feel good right now, I'm happy to be here, etc., etc. You see, we say all of those things. You see, that is the self. Now, after the Gnanvidhi and in the awakened state, all of us, that small s, shifts to big S, big S. So I'm a Pura, and I am aware of this one sitting in front of me. This one, Shuddha, is sitting here. He is watching this internet, and he is inside in the satsang with South America, you see. He is speaking, he is discussing, he is sharing, you see. So see, it's the same self. The small s has become the big S after the awakening. That's all. It's the same one, you see. Same one, but it is, the view has changed. Before, I am speaking, I don't like what happened, I love what happened. Now it is Vyavasthit, you see.
Antes de tomar el Gnani, el ser era con lo pequeño, ¿no? Nos identificábamos con nuestro cuerpo, con lo que me gusta, con que estoy bien. Y después del Gnani sabemos que somos alma pura y que soy el conocedor de este que está sentado frente a mí, que se llama Shuddha, que está en internet, que está compartiendo satsang con Sudamérica y todo eso. Y en realidad, antes de Gnan, el ser es con una S pequeña y después con la S grande. Lo que cambió es la visión. El ser es el mismo ahora, hay visión de que todo lo que sucede es Vyasthit.
Yes, I see. So, Kriya, the word Kriya, wherever you hear the word Kriya, you see, Kriya means activity, and the Kriya is of three types. Kriya is physical, Kriya is in the mind, in the inner machine, and the Kriya is happening due to the interactions of sounds that you hear, and that modifies what happens inside, you see.
Yes. Kriya quiere decir actividad. Hay tres tipos de actividad o kriya. Una es la física, otra es la maquinaria interna, ¿no? Como la mente, el intelecto, y la tercera es la interacción con lo de afuera, ¿no? Con los sonidos que van a estar como interviniendo en la maquinaria interna en la mente.
Yeah. The other calls mind, intellect, chit, you see, relative chit, all of that as dravya kriya. What is happening is in the, if it has, you see, as opposed to dravya kriya, you see, now there's kriya activity, there is dravya kriya, there is also bhav kriya, you see. In other words, it is what is happening in the intention, you see. So, you may be doing whatever you are doing, but you might appear that you're doing something, but your intention inside is also some kind of an activity that's going on. And so there is a dravya kriya and a bhav kriya. Don't get too confused. It's dravya is visible, bhav is invisible, you see. That's all I want you to know.
Dada dice que, bueno, el Dravya Kriya, la actividad sucede en la mente, el intelecto y el chit, pero también que hay otro Kriya más, que es el Bhav, y que es lo que sucede en la actividad, cualquier cosa que estés haciendo. Esto es invisible, es para que lo tengamos en cuenta y no nos hagamos mucho confusión.
You said this, and because this is very, very, very critical, let me go and share this again so we can read this. Yeah, all right. This, what's, you see, the one person, two persons are there, and Dada says these two people have not taken Gnan, you see. He's giving an example of these two people who have not taken Gnan. You see, they're just like, they are just the believers that they believe whatever is happening to me and I am doing this. You see, those are the believers, you see.
Acá Dada habla, cuando da este ejemplo, está hablando de dos personas que no tomaron el NAN y que creen que son los que les sucede lo que les pasa, que son su cuerpo, su mente y que les sucede a ellos. No tomaron el NAN. El ejemplo es sobre personas que no tienen el conocimiento.
So then just kind of say person A insults person B. Say person A insults person B, says something horrible to person B, okay? And at that time there is a visible physical action, you see. That is called, you see, there's a visible physical activity that is visible, means his face will turn red, the guy will, the person B would be really upset, will happen. And of course the other says it certainly is wrong, okay? But the problem is that person B, this that happened, you see, was what Dada is saying was meant to happen. And Dada is saying A insulting B was part of the program from past life, you see.
Por ejemplo, hay dos personas, A y B. La persona A insulta a la persona B. Entonces se ve que hay una actividad física visible, ¿no? Por ejemplo, la persona se pone colorado, se pone tenso, y se está mal, ¿no? Entonces esta persona B, lo que le sucede es algo que estaba destinado a que suceda. Esto ya había sido programado o cargado y ahora está sucediendo.
You see? You see, because look, that man just said something through words, right? Palabras. But person B, the entire inner machine of his mind, chit, intellect, and the ego, went into reverse gears. That is his dravya kriya, you see. It is happening, you see, what is happening in the mind of person B, in his chit, in his intellect, in his ego, he gets involved in it. He gets to become involved means, gee, whoa. He believes it happened to him. This is happening to me. He said this to me. I am this body, and this man just said horrible things to me, insulted me, you see.
Por ejemplo, la persona A dice la palabra y la persona B, con su mente, intelecto, el chit, el ego, el dravya kriya, se involucra. Entonces se enoja y dice, oh, esto me está pasando a mí. Este hombre, él me dijo esto, él me hizo esto.
You see, and that, so let us read. When the mind is thinking, one himself, again, the self gets involved in it, you see. Meaning he becomes engrossed in it. Tanmayakar is the word. Tanmayakar, tanmayakar. Very common word, so you might as well, because it's used all over our Gujarati satsangs. Tanmayakar means become one with it, or to become the body mind. You see, to become the body mind. That one becomes tanmayakar, engrossed in it. And the mind is thinking. That is our worldly language. Truly speaking, the mind does not think. Really speaking, the mind does not think. Vibrations continuously arise in the mind, you see, and the involvement of the intellect with the mind, when the intellect gets involved with these vibrations, then the ego follows, because ego is blind, and then thinking arises, you see.
Dice que cuando cuando la mente está pensando, la persona se involucra en ello. Se involucra en ella, lo que significa que se identifica con ella. La mente piensa, eso es nuestro lenguaje mundano. Verdaderamente la mente, verdaderamente hablando, la mente no piensa, constantemente surgen vibraciones dentro de la mente. Y el ego ciego y sigue a la mente.
All right. And so as they, because as they, the Parmanus, I'm looking at the Gujarati word because I wish I had my English, but anyway, Jayama Koti Furti Hoi, let me see. It's like, just like fireworks. So as the Parmanus continue to give the effect, that gives rise to vibrations. Just like the fireworks that explode, in the same way, everything continues to come out from inside. Why is it inside? Then the answer is it was filled. It went inside in the last life. You see?
A medida que los parmanus siguen dando efecto, eso da lugar a vibraciones. Así que como explotan los fuegos artificiales, de la misma manera todo sigue explotando desde dentro. Y desde dentro porque fue cargado en la vida pasada.
Yeah, you see, the mind is so just, it doesn't explode every time, it's just that she gives an example, it's like the gunpowder inside, but whatever is inside will come out in the same way. It comes out as vibrations in the mind, you see. It comes out as vibrations in the mind, and sometimes it comes out strong, sometimes it comes out slowly, sometimes it comes out easily, you see. These vibrations, you see.
La mente no siempre explota, ¿no? Y sale, ¿no? Esto por las vibraciones en la mente. A veces le sale de forma muy fuerte, otras más lentamente y otras suavemente.
Now the intellect is able to read that, you see. These vibrations that come out from the mind, the intellect is able to read that. And that is referred to as the intended meaning. You see, the intellect can interpret it. You see, what is the mind trying to say? That is called the intended meaning. You see, what does it mean that the intellect reads the mind? It can read the meaning of what's going on. So then it feels good within. Thereafter, sometimes the ego becomes engrossed, sometimes, or it might feel good or it might feel bad. You see, it depends upon what the nature of those parmanus or those subatomic particles that had entered in the last life, you see. And
El intelecto es capaz de leer las vibraciones de la mente y se lo conoce como un propósito. Se lo conoce como un propósito. I'm lost.
Well, depending on the nature of the Parmanus, if they're positive, they may be, if they're Parmanus of rag, attachment, then they make you feel good. If they're Parmanus of dvesh, abhorrence, then they will make you feel bad, you see.
Todo esto que puede leer el intelecto que viene de la mente es como lo interpreta, ¿no? Entonces, si algo te hace sentir bien, vas a sentir apego, y si algo te hace sentir mal, lo que vas a sentir es aversión. Rag, dvesh.
In the example above, with the men insulting one, the insult above, it is the Parmanus of dvesh, you see, the Parmanus of abhorrence, you see, that got excited, you see, and it started spinning the inner cycle of the mind, intellect, chit and ego, and it spun, and the guy become involved in it, tanmayakar, engrossed, and felt insulted. He says, I got insulted. He is so upset. His ears turn red. His breathing changes, you see, and he just is shocked, you see.
Por ejemplo, cuando el intelecto siente el enojo, ¿no? Le dicen una palabra fuerte o recibe un insulto, van a estar surgiendo parmanus de aversión, ¿no? Entonces todo el intelecto, mente, chit y ego se involucra en tanma y akar y se enoja, y sus orejas se ponen colorados, su cuerpo se pone tenso y bueno, y eso.
You see, the intellect is able to read the meaning, means, oh, they are pleasant, oh, they are bad, you see, hurtful, pleasure or painful, and so it feels good or bad, you see, it feels good. Now the ego, whether it is good or bad, the ego becomes engrossed. It is the ego that is blind now, moves there. And once the ego moves there, then it is called a thought, you see. You see how fast this is happening, but Dada is splitting it in exactness.
El intelecto tiene la capacidad de leer la mente y las vibraciones. Entonces, cuando las vibraciones son placenteras, vas a estar bien, y si son dolorosas, no vas a estar bien. Y el ego, si no estás bien, o si estás bien, se involucra, se mueve, y allí inmediatamente surgen los pensamientos.
You see, and otherwise, if the ego doesn't move there, and ego doesn't get in there, then it will not become a thought. Now, the very ego that moves and becomes engrossed, it is the ego that becomes tanmayakar, it is the ego that suffers the pleasure and the pain. And in that temporary state, it is not a temporary state, it is now become a situation, you see. Oh, it is a situation, of the mind, and that is known as Avasthit, you see. Now it has become a situation of the mind. Before, it was just Parmanus, like, little, sparks from the mind, but now the whole thing takes over from inside, and then it becomes a situation of the mind. It is actually It is not a situation of the mind, it is a situation of the self. You see, this is an error here. It is, the self now is involved in it. He has become Avasthit, you see. The guy, he can't, that example that was given upstairs above, he will not be able to sleep the whole night. He might tell 10 people about what happened, you see.
El ego no es translated a medida que yes. Bueno, así el intelecto es capaz de leer eso y se lo conoce como propósito. Entonces la persona se siente bien. A partir de entonces el ego se identifica y se mueve hacia allí. Y si se mueve hacia allí se llama pensamiento. De otra manera no se convertiría en un pensamiento. Ahora bien, el mismo ego que se mueve y se identifica, ese mismo se absorbe en ese estado temporal, Avasthit, de la mente, que se conoce como Avasthit.
And it is not a situation or avastha of the mind. It is not the mind that is in this temporary situation. It is the self that is in this temporary situation. He has become avasthit. This is an error here, okay?
Bueno, acá hay un error porque dice que es una situación de la mente, en realidad es una situación del ser, y eso es avastar.
Yeah, because the ego is got involved in it. How can you say it's a situation of the mind? It is the whole person, you see. Because the person is the ego, Everyone in this world, their identification is with their ego, except we Mahatmas. We are not connected with our egos. Yes, we are connected in discharge only, but we are not really connected, are we?
El ego no es la mente, es la persona. Es la persona, entonces todas las personas en el mundo son el ego. Nosotros no, porque nosotros no conectamos con el ego, dejamos de estar conectados con el ego, conectamos con el ser.
Dadashri has, in essence, this Dadas does say that, he entered into the situation of the mind. This is, Dada still says that he entered into it is happening to the mind, but now when Dadashri is saying it is happening to the mind, he is not just talking about this mind here, which just discharges with parmanus. It is the whole antakaran, you see. It is just it is in Gujarati just how it came out, but what really Dada is trying to say is when you enter into the situation of what is happening in the inside you, then you become avasthit, you see. If somebody will say, somebody is sitting there and everybody is having fun, but this person is just very sad. And what's happening? It's everybody knows something is going on, but nobody knows what's going on. Well, she is absorbed in the situation of what's going on inside her machine, a mind, intellect, chit, and ego, you see.
Yes. Dada no está hablando acá de la mente que hablaba al principio de los parmanus, sino que está hablando de todo el antakaran. Es entrar en la situación de adentro y entonces se transforma en avasthit. Es estar absorbido en lo que sucede dentro de esa persona.
I would like for you, just for the flow part, read this from here, from up top to here.
Yes.
You say just go ahead and just read it because,
Oh, okay. Cuando la mente piensa, uno mismo se involucra en ello, lo que significa es que se identifica con ella. La mente piensa, ese es nuestro lenguaje mundano. Verdaderamente hablando, la mente no piensa. constantemente surgen vibraciones dentro de la mente. A medida que los parmanus siguen dando efecto, eso da lugar a vibraciones, así como explotan los fuegos artificiales. De la misma manera, todo sigue brotando desde dentro. El intelecto es capaz de leer esto y se lo conoce como el propósito, el Baba. De entonces la persona se siente bien. A partir de entonces el ego se identifica y se mueve hacia allá. Y si se mueve hacia allí se llama pensamiento. De otra manera no se convierte en pensamiento. Ahora bien, el mismo ego que se mueve se identifica ese mismo y se absorbe en ese estado temporal, Avasthit, de la mente, que se conoce como Avasthit.
It is this temporary state is not the exact translation for avastha, you see. This is wrong. When you have my version, you'll get it. It's a situation, you see. Avastha is a situation. You find yourself in that situation, you see. You find yourself in the situation. And this, so the circumstances are moving all around, but when you get absorbed into that, when you believe it's happening to you, you are now involved in that situation. That situation becomes yours. It is happening to the mind, it is happening to the ego that is discharging, but you believe it is happening to you. And that is the whole problem of bondage in this world, you see. You continue to get bound in this world, you see.
Yes. El estado temporal es Avasthit y esa es la situación donde encuentras tu ser. Cuando crees que te pasa a ti, cuando la descarga sucede, está sucediendo y tú crees que esto te está pasando a ti, entonces es una descarga que está sucediendo, pero todo el problema es creer que me está sucediendo a mí.
So, for a person, the avastha or the situation of a state of thought or the state of speech arises, state of thinking or the state of speech arises, and those avastha keep on changing, you see. All right, to become engrossed in those situations, you see, to become engrossed in those situations, avastha, and in the state of ignorance one indeed becomes engrossed, you see. In fact, in ignorance one is always engrossed, you see. It is because he believes I am indeed the one that he indeed becomes engrossed. This is part of nature. This is how it is in life. So when he becomes engrossed in a situation, in an avastha, at that time charging takes place. The charging of new karma takes place, you see. Karma takes place. When it charges, that is called Avasthit in Gujarati. Avasthit. To become involved is the charging, you see. Avasthit. To become one with the situation, that is becoming avasthit, and it goes into the computer, that master computer, and it comes out as Vyavasthit in the next life. That which is avasthit in this life, that which you become involved in, that precisely is what becomes Vyavasthit and comes out in next life. However, Vyavasthit brings all scientific circumstantial evidence together. Whereas Avasthit, to become involved, will not bring the evidence together. You become involved in a situation right now, that is not going to bring the evidence together. It just becomes charged like active magnetic particles of substance. And then it becomes decided that according to this, these many evidences will be needed. You see? And this Vyavasthit brings those evidences together. This Avasthit of this life becomes Vyavasthit of next life. So in this, the prarabdha, I know it is, because, well, welcome to the advanced level thing. The prarabdha, the karma that is destined to give effect, you see, is another word. It's called, it is bound to give the effect. So in all of this phenomenon, the karma of that is ready to give its effect, and the purusharth, which is the small p, the small cause in it, are not foundationless or baseless. This is precise, and it is from this point, but not everyone can understand that, can they? Therefore, for now we have given, just for right now, we have, Dada says, we have given it to everyone saying, Vyavasthit. We have said Vyavasthit is indeed the doer of this. Who did this? Vyavasthit did it. In reality, the doer is only Vyavasthit, and it is in the form of scientific circumstantial evidence. However, this is an analogy of what Vyavasthit would be. I'm just giving you an analogy, you see. So go ahead and read this whole thing, and then we go further. Yeah.
Así que surgen en la persona los avasthit, de un estado del pensamiento o del estado del habla. Y con esos avasthit también cambian incesantemente. La persona queda absorta en esos avasthit, y en el estado de ignorancia uno realmente se identifica. De hecho, la persona permanece identificada porque cree que soy realmente el único. Por lo tanto, cuando se identifica con un avasthit, se produce la carga del karma. Esa carga de karma se llama Avasthit. En Gujarati, ser uno con el avasthit, con la situación. Eso es volverse Avasthit. Es volverse precisamente lo que se convierte en Vyavasthit y sale. Sin embargo, Vyavasthit reúne todas las evidencias científicos circunstanciales, mientras que Avasthit no unirá las evidencias. Primero se carga y luego se decide que, de acuerdo con esto, esta cantidad de evidencias serán necesarias. Este Vyavasthit reúne todas las evidencias, y este Avasthit se convierte en Vyavasthit. Es por esto que el parabdha, el karma que está destinado a dar efecto, o purusharth, la causa, en él no son infundados. Esto es preciso, es de un punto a otro, pero no todo el mundo puede entender eso, ¿verdad? Por lo tanto, por ahora lo hemos explicado a todo el mundo diciendo que es Vyavasthit. Hemos dicho, Vyavasthit es el hacedor de esto. En realidad, el hacedor es solo Vyavasthit y se presenta en forma de evidencia científico-circunstancial. Sin embargo, esta es una analogía de lo que sería Vyavasthit.
So you see, yes, Christian has raised hand. All right, so yes, Christian.
Thank you, Shuddha. I have a little question. I don't know if I could get it right before when you talk about Tammayakar and how you get absorbed by the thinking. So if I got it straight, you said that from the past life, you came with it expresses our karma in vibrations, and then comes the thinking, and when you get absorbed, it calls Tammayakar. And when my question is, when you are in the Gnan, when you're in the knowledge, and you are working or doing, let's say, Asima J.J. Karwan singing, because I've heard Deepak Bhai and I think Dimple Bhai sometimes, that said that the karma that it's gonna develop in these vibrations that come to you, when you are in a good state, it will happen anyway, but the amount, if you can say, or it will decrease, or it will be less severe, is just a thing, or is just a thing of perception of us because we are separated.
Traducilo, por favor, corazón.
Le estaba preguntando que con el perdón, una duda que tiene Cristian con respecto a, él habló que sabía cómo se producía de una vida a otra y llegaban las vibraciones, que las vibraciones llegaban y se transformaban en pensamiento o en palabras, y ahí iban ocurriendo y saliendo los pensamientos y se iba a, se hacía como un delivery del karma, por decirlo de alguna manera. Entonces le pregunté yo qué pasa cuando él dijo que uno se ve absorbido por Tammayakar, y cómo sucede lo que estamos haciendo nosotros y cómo opera el conocimiento desde el punto de vista que alguna vez yo le había escuchado, y es lo que le estoy preguntando a Deepak Bhai, a Dimple Bhai, que él decía que los karmas iban a ocurrir de todas maneras, pero que cuando tú estabas, como él habló de vibración, trabajando en el Akram y estando en el conocimiento y cantando así me J.J. Cargo y haciendo las cosas, si bien el karma se iba a manifestar de todas maneras, la fuerza de ese karma iba a decrecer. Y le pregunté si era solo nuestra percepción o si en realidad la fuerza del karma, además de nuestra percepción por la separación, también decrecía.
See, if you just stick to the fundamental words of Dada in this Aptasutra, it becomes easy. And the not the explanation is rather detailed, but the fundamental words are, when is Vyavasthit constructed? When is Vyavasthit constructed? You and I are Amapuras, pure observers, pure souls, seeing everything and knowing everything that is happening. Now, in front of us, something gets constructed and something is getting destructed. So it arises and falls, and arises and falls, everything. That is how it is. Now, the whole satsang today is about the construction of Vyavasthit. How is Vyavasthit formed? How does it arise? You see? Okay, go on.
Yes. Acá hoy estamos hablando de las palabras fundamentales, ¿no? ¿Cuándo Vyavasthit fue construido? Nosotros somos alma pura que vemos y conocemos todo lo que sucede. Y las cosas aparecen, se construyen, se destruyen, aparecen y desaparecen. Hoy pudimos ver cómo Vyavasthit se forma y cómo surge.
So then Dadashri says, if somebody lights a matchstick underneath your butt, you see, and somebody instigates you, you see, and you become involved in it, you see, then, you become involved in it, you see, then that is the construction of Vyavasthit. Simple. Somebody instigates you and you became involved in it, then that is the construction of Vyavasthit. That is why Dadashri gives this another Aptasutra, means the involvement is the becoming Avasthit. The involvement in the situation is the charging of the battery, and once a battery charges, then you and I know it has to discharge, and the discharge is Vyavasthit. The discharge of that battery is Vyavasthit. The difference between charge and discharge is charge was in the last life and discharge is in this life. So this is the simple explanation of Dadashri in his two Aptasutras, you see. Involvement in a situation, tanmayakar. Now, involvement, you're right, involvement in the situation happens to everyone. Everyone in this world, including you and I who have received the Gnan Vidhi, we will get involved in the situation. The only difference is those people really believe it is happening to me, whereas we know it is happening to Christian, it is happening to Shuddha. Yes, that is the difference. In other words, we know who this is happening to. You see? And
Yes.
this is very important. Both of us, the Mahatmas as well as the non-Mahatmas, will get involved. If it's a beautiful meal, we will get in. Everybody, including the Gnani himself, will get involved, you see. A very high level Gnanis do not get involved, you see. That stage will come when there is only the pure knower and the seer only, you see. The pure knower and the seer.
Dada dice que si alguien te instiga, tú te vas a involucrar, te vas a involucrar. Y esa es la construcción de Vyavasthit. Es así de simple. Es por eso que involucrarse en la situación es la carga de la batería. Y luego la batería tiene que descargar. Entonces eso es Vyavasthit. La carga de la batería fue en el pasado. Y en esta vida, Vyavasthit es la descarga. ¿Qué sucede en esta vida? Todos, absolutamente todos nos involucramos. Todos. La única diferencia es que las personas que no tomaron el NAN creen que les sucede a ellos. Nosotros sabemos que esto le pasa ayuda a Cristian. Tenemos el conocimiento, somos alma pura, estamos separados y vemos. Pero hasta el mismo Gnani también se involucra en la comida, por ejemplo. Ya cuando es un muy alto nivel, muy alto nivel de Gnan, solo permanece en el observador y el conocedor.
Now, the other thing about this vibration part, that is only to understand. We cannot see the vibration, we can only see the effects. Vibration is a very subtle thing in the mind, you see. Vibrations cannot be seen. The intellect reads those things. Those things are so fast, you and I cannot see them. This is the description of Dada. You see, we know that by the time the effect has arisen, when somebody says, Christian, leave it alone, you don't know how to do it, the effect has already reached the ego, the discharging ego, you see. And so the ego, the vibrations are so fast from these words that the intellect has already read them. The intellect already has dragged the ego, both ego and the intellect, and everyone gets involved in it, you see. And that is where the involvement, the awakened one, is simply can begin to see the effect. If you can see the effect, then the chain reaction can be stopped. The chain reaction is, it's happening to Christian, it's not happening to me, you see. And so the chain reaction of the suffering is not there. That is where the disconnection is in Mahatmas, you see. Through the agnas, through the 5 agnas, that is the exact result. This is relative. This is Vyavasthit, Amapura, all of those things, you see. So the reaction, the involvement is of the discharging ego of Christian, not the dying ego of Christian, and there is no living ego left anymore. For the living ego, the Amapura have to mix with the body, and then the living ego arises, you see.
Yes. Las vibraciones,
The vibration part is not to be worried.
yes. Las vibraciones suceden todas muy rápido y no las podemos ver. Y las vibraciones las lee el intelecto. Cuando las vibraciones las puede leer el intelecto, entonces surge el efecto y se produce la descarga en el ego. Las vibraciones son tan rápidas, el intelecto las lee y absorbe el ego, ¿no? Como que lo arrastra. Entonces la persona que conoce, que sabe, el que está despierto, puede ver que lo que está pasando es una descarga, ¿no? Que es un efecto. Y este efecto, esta cadena de efectos se puede parar si podemos ver que lo que está sucediendo es una descarga y que le está sucediendo a Christian. Entonces, con los 5 agnas podemos ver que esto le sucede al relativo, que todo lo que sucede es Vyavasthit, que yo soy alma pura. Es una descarga del ego de Christian. El ego de Christian está muriendo. Entonces, ¿qué queda? Queda el alma pura, el conocimiento, y entonces surge el ego viviente.
Yeah. You see, there is the gross, the visible, then there is the subtle, the invisible, and then there is the subtler, which is also invisible, and then there is the subtlest ego, right? Now, these 4 forms of ego, the subtlest form of ego is the connection of I am Shuddha, I am Christian, you see, and that has been broken, disconnected in the Gnanvidhi. Now what is left is the subtler ego, the minus, not the minus, the I-ness, potapano, I-ness. That I-ness, and then the subtle ego is all associated with the kashais and the visible ego, right? All these 3 are still there in all of us, and they are dying day by day with the 5 agnas and satsang. You see, in 5 agnas and satsang, they're dying. You see, they're dying, as we rise in our awareness. And that's exactly it. And they are dying. That's exactly how it is. And so there is no more engrossment. There is no more tanmayakarpano. There is no more becoming involved. Really, we don't get involved. We are, whatever is happening, you see, is happening. We don't get involved. It's the discharging ego that is getting involved. Yes.
Está la parte evidente del ego, ¿no? La parte evidente, la parte invisible y la parte sutil. La parte más sutil es, yo soy Shuddha, Cristian, y esto fue borrado en el Nanvidi. Pero después queda la parte evidente, la parte invisible, y queda lo que me pertenece. Y todo esto, siguiendo las 5 agnas y estando en satsang, va desapareciendo, va muriendo. Entonces ya no hay más tan mayakar, ya no nos involucramos.
Yeah.
Let me please, because I have this question comes from experience of mine, and because I feel that when I am getting a sentence or a phrase of the Nanvidi and I repeat it all day, or when I'm singing Asima Yekaru or Vishuddhatma Bhawan or everything, my day changes. I don't know, and the thing is, it's changing because the day is the same, but it's only my perception that has changed, because maybe in my craziness or something like that, I feel that the day is different, that the things that are happening are different. So for me, it's kind of weird, because I really feel the difference. I don't know if that difference is solely my own perception, that things, because the developing of the karma, it's just being perceived by me in a different way, or as I believe now, the day really changes.
No, you're in a state beyond belief. What?
Sorry,
sorry.
sorry.
Go on.
Cristian, traducí, por favor.
Lo que le estoy preguntando es que mi pregunta viene de una experiencia personal, y es que cuando yo canto, cuando yo hago el charán en las mañanas, cuando yo estoy cantando, que lo suelo hacer mucho, porque cuando me toca el día muy ocupado trato de cantar, trato de repetir Vishuddhatma Bhawan, trato de hacer cualquiera de esas cosas, yo siento que mi vida cambia, y que mi día cambia. Entonces lo que le estoy preguntando es si es solo mi percepción, o es solo mi locura, que yo siento que el día y las cosas que me suceden cambian y son las mismas, y solo las estoy percibiendo distinto. O sea, solo mi percepción, mi separación, que piensa que es todo distinto, o simplemente ocurre, que es lo que yo creo hasta ahora, que el día realmente ocurre distinto y a Cristian le pasan cosas distintas. Eso es lo que le estoy preguntando.
Well, the answer is very simple. The upyog is in and towards the self, you see, and it is in. That is how the reality is. That is those are in association with that. There is the natural byproduct, which is called the bliss of the self. You see, everything appears beautiful and wonderful and nice. You see, the world is what it is. It doesn't change. It cannot change. It is the one who, it is all in the view. The one who sees it correctly is free. And the one who sees it in confusion gets involved or bound, you see.
Upayok está en el ser y así es la realidad y está asociado con la dicha del ser. El mundo es lo que es, el mundo no cambia. Todo está en la visión. Si tenés la visión correcta, vas a ser libre. Y si tenés la visión confusa, vas a estar...
Yeah, you see the light of the self. The light of the self is always and all liberating. You see, as opposed to the light of the intellect, which we just saw in the other's description, how the intellect, its role is to continuously get involved in the antakaran and to kind of pick up the vibrations and multiply them and drag the ego in it. And it's like the grandmother-in-law of mother-in-laws, you see. The intellect. The intellect makes it so muddled. And the light of the self, the prajna, what you're describing is the effect of prajna, the light of the self, the light that liberates, you see. That is why you feel good. All of these vidis and all of these other prescriptions that are in the Charan Vidhi, they are all liberating. They instantly liberate. You see, they lift up the person into his own being. This is who I am. This is the illusion. This is, I don't belong in here, you see. The world of Christian is the world of Christian, and that's how it is. The world of Christian is Vyavasthit, and I am here. This is who I am, you see.
La luz del ser está siempre liberando y como lo vimos que Dada decía, ¿no? La luz del intelecto siempre te va a llevar a que te involucres al antakarán, ¿no? Y al ego. Es como que te arrastran al ego, ¿no? Ese es el intelecto. En cambio, la luz del ser es el prajna, es lo que estabas diciendo, el cristian, y es la luz que libera. Por eso nos sentimos bien instantáneamente y nos elevamos, porque esto es lo que soy, ¿no? Cuando cantamos las canciones, recitamos el charambidi y hacemos todo y cantamos para Dada. Y la luz del intelecto es la ilusión, vos no perteneces ahí, ese es el mundo de Christian, y todo lo que sucede en el mundo de Christian es Vyavasthit.
The world of Christian continues, and the world of the self continues. The two wings, you see, beautifully in coordination. The world of Christian continues, and Christians. The world of Christian is not a disturbance and is not an impediment and is not a problem for your bliss, which is instant. It is available, it is there all the time, and it grows inside regardless of whatever arises in the relative, in the world of Christian, you see.
Yes. El mundo de Christian va a continuar y el mundo de tu ser, de lo que eres, va a continuar, ¿no? Y va a crecer más allá de todo lo que suceda. Y el mundo de Christian no molesta ni va a impedir tu dicha. Estas son como las dos alas de un pájaro, ambas van a continuar.
You see, and the other tree says, Avasthit, to become involved is the charge, you see, and to become involved in the situation is the charge, and that involvement was happening because of the lack of light. I am Christian, this is happening to me, this is my world, you see. And in that 1 hour of the Gnan Vidi, it has been beautifully disconnected without disturbing that world. That world remains, that world continues, but there is a beautiful approach to that world through these magnificent agnas, through this view of the self, you see. Through the exact understanding of Vyavasthit. Now, Vyavasthit means that which is discharging. Dadashri says, now wherever and however Christian was involved, you see, in the last life, and in whichever field and in whichever topic, you see, is exactly how it's going to discharge, whether it is in pride or in money or in sex or in, whatever, and to understand that discharge as Vyavasthit is freedom, you see. His liberation is you're done, you're free, there is no further entry into it. There is no further entry. Even if you want to jump into it, you cannot.
Acá dice que Avasthit involucra la carga. Esto dice Dada, ¿no? Avasthit involucra la carga. Y eso sucedió por falta de luz. Y en el Nan, en tan solo 1 hora, se produjo la separación. El mundo de Christian sigue, y sigue, pero sigue con las 5 agnas y el conocimiento de Yavasthit. Y el conocimiento de Vyasthit es la descarga de lo que tú te involucraste en el pasado. Y depende de lo que te hayas involucrado en el pasado, va a estar surgiendo la ira, el orgullo, la codicia, el engaño, lo que sea. Pero este conocimiento de Vyasthit, estar en las 5 agnas y el conocimiento de Dada, es lo que te mantiene en la liberación y en la dicha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, throughout the day, you just have to say, you have to kind of ask, see, did I get involved? No, I didn't get involved. Christian got involved. Okay, so that's okay. That's how it is. That's how it was programmed. If Christian doesn't get involved, he won't be able to take care of his students and his people that he helps, you see. The involvement is necessary. The involvement is necessary. The world has to continue. Dada disconnected you where it really counted, that's all. He did a magnificent, he did the most magnificent surgery on all of us, you see. Without disturbing anything. Without disturbing anything.
Yes. Ahora, vos podés ver que tú no te involucraste, que fue Cristian, ¿no? Y fue en la vida pasada. Entonces también dice que es necesario involucrarse porque así el mundo continúa. Y Dada nos hizo la más maravillosa cirugía para separarnos sin molestar absolutamente nada.
In this example he gives about person A and person B, and that will continue with us too, person A, person B. We are not person A and we are not person B. Christian is person A or B. I am beyond a person. I'm flying so high, I can see everything now. I can see when somebody compliments him, and I can also see when somebody will criticize him. Somebody will insult him, you see. That's how it was programmed, that's all. That's how it was programmed. What a program. What a
Wow.
program.
Las personas A y B van a continuar. Pero yo no soy persona A, ni soy persona B. Yo vuelo alto y veo cuando alguien alaba, dice cosas lindas, cuando critica, cuando insulta. Yo veo.
Shuddha, let's just, we missed the time of the break. Let's take your 10-minute break, then we'll return. And then we'll discuss if anybody else has any question. This is a very, very beautiful this opening up of the science of cause and effect right there in front of us, what we read today. It is just very subtle. It's the science. At the subtlest level, Dada has described what happens, you see.
Con esto, ahora vamos a tomar un recreo y después vamos a seguir con esto si alguien tiene una pregunta, porque esto es maravilloso ver en el nivel más sutil la descripción de Dada de Vyavasthit. Thank you, Shuddha.
Yes, thank you, Christian and Patricia and Fabi. We'll be back again. 10 minutes, huh? Well,
10 minutos de recreo. Yes, 10 minutes. Thank you.
All right. So shall we continue?
Continuamos.
Okay. Does anybody want to say anything about what we have discussed so far? Any further input? Any questions? Who is Juana Maria?
Juana María, ¿quién es? A ver si la puede ver Shuddha. Si enciende su pantalla.
Mahatma, new name, that's why I'm asking.
Él pregunta, quiere saber si es una persona nueva o es Mahatma.
Okay, we continue. You know, there is this
Preguntó si alguien tenía preguntas o dudas que quisieran agregar en este momento antes.
okay. Some of the
I have a question, Shuddha. Imagine there are 3 persons. Patricia is there, no? And 2 persons more. And these 2 persons have some kind of argue. I know that is happening, what is happening is a discharge of karma. And then one goes away and the other does not feel good. How is the best way to manage that? I keep separate. I know this is discharge of karma. The other 2 are pure soul, and one stays crying.
yes. So the best way
Traducilo,
is
Patri.
¿Cómo? Ah,
Que lo
perdón.
traduzcas.
Perdón, sí, gracias. ¿Qué pasa si, por ejemplo, hay 3 personas y estoy yo, por ejemplo, ahí? Y esas 2 personas tienen una discusión o algo por el estilo, una se va y la otra queda llorando. Which is the best way not to interfere? ¿Cuál sería la mejor manera para no interferir, not to create, not get involved, y no involucrarme tampoco?
you see, to involve and not to get involved is part of the ignorance. You see, the involvement factor of yours has been taken away. So you're not going to get involved ever. You, the awakened one, are never going to get involved. Yes, Patricia may get involved, and then Patricia may get her hands burnt, or she might be able to help. So see what happens and see what Patricia does. You see, if Patricia gets involved, you have to say, if it works, fine. If it doesn't work, you can say, see,
Vyavasthit.
yes, Vyavasthit. If you can help, if your presence helps the person, help, you see what she does. See what Patricia ends up doing. See, the efforts. It's just ignorance to believe anymore after the Gnanvidi that I helped or I'm helping. The help happens, you see. And the lack of help also happens.
Ujú. Bueno, a lo que pregunté, Shuddha dice que bueno, que ya no nos vamos a involucrar más de ninguna manera, y que lo que está sucediendo, y si Patricia, si Shuddha se quema las manos, Patricia puede ayudar o puede no ayudar. Yo estoy viendo qué es lo que Patricia está haciendo, y no soy la hacedora.
Before you get involved, there is a very subtle signal that happens inside you that warns you, you see. Supposing initially when these two people are together, and then there is something that happened, and then the person A goes away, and then that other person returns again, and it happens again. At that time, you see, you know, now it's happening again. So now, you know, you are the observer, right? You're the observer, and you will get an initial signal inside. Is it worth saying anything or not worth saying anything? There's a very subtle signal, you know, and sometimes that signal is important, you know, that signal is from your prajna, which says just continue saying what happens. But many times that signal is ignored and you enter into it too, you see.
Ujú. Dice que dentro siempre hay una señal, ¿no? Que nos permite ver si es bueno decir algo o es bueno quedarse callado y no decir nada. Y es importante escuchar esta señal porque esta señal viene de prajna. Y muchas veces no le prestamos atención a estas señales, las ignoramos. Entonces nosotros también, al ignorar estas señales, caemos en ignorancia.
Prajna has only one role, and that role is to keep you separate from all of this. Prajna keeps you in you and Patricia in Patricia. That's the role of Prajna. Keeps the relative and the real separate.
Bueno, el rol de prajna es mantener separado el ser de Patricia. Entonces mantiene siempre separado eso.
Yeah, now, you know, then say the person A and person B are at it again and talking, and now if Patricia enters in it, now it's a role of person A, person B, and person C. See, yeah, it's a three-way role. Now you see the three-way instead of the two-way. Now you're seeing the three-way. You see.
Ok. También puede ser que estas dos personas vuelvan a encontrarse, imaginemos que pelean, y Patricia también entra en la pelea, entonces ya no es aquí hay una persona A, B, ahora está una persona C, estamos los tres en esto.
Lo importante es que lo observes, es decir, que podamos observar. Lo que sea que Patricia haga es lo que tiene que suceder. Lo importante es que lo podamos observar así.
Yeah, so
Gracias.
and Patricia now there are three persons, and you will see, you know, you see what happens then. You see, yeah, most of the time nothing much comes out of it. It's just, you know, effects only, one effect after the other. You see, yeah. In the relative, it's always a matter of sides. If you go for one person, you are always away from the other person. In the relative, you have no choice but to take sides.
Bueno, dice que si hay dos personas en lo relativo, siempre vamos a terminar tomando un lado, ¿no? Como que no hay forma, pero que lo importante es poder ver, observar lo que está sucediendo.
Yeah.
Me parece que Anila quería hacer una pregunta.
Yes, Anila.
Quería saber si estoy entendiendo bien, porque esta parte es bien importante. Si acaso uno, al mirar desde el alma pura lo que está sucediendo en el intelecto, que sería la primera parte donde llegaría el Vyavasthit, y después tomando en cuenta la otra parte, que sería la identificación del ego, si uno los ve más claramente, hay muchas posibilidades de que este Vyavasthit no tenga consecuencias tan fuertes, o al menos mantenerse en un equilibrio sin que este Vyavasthit produzca respuestas de estar balanceándose entre dos puntos. No sé si me doy a entender.
Ayúdame, Fabi, por favor.
Bueno,
¿Escuchaste?
y Cristian, ayúdanos a nosotros. Anila wants to really be sure if she's understanding right, but I think there is a very little misunderstanding. She says, if I can be observing when something happens that my intellect is thinking and my ego is identifying, if I can see that those two moments, is it like diminishing the effects in the future? If I can see it instead of getting involved. ¿Lo dije bien, Chris?
Perfecto.
Divina.
Anila me entendió, mi amor.
No, you are aware for that particular time only. Yes, your awareness is being applied to that situation only. The awareness is not for the future. Yes, it is for that particular file. You see, this thing is a file.
Es decir, cada vez que observamos, ese conocimiento sirve para esa situación en particular. No es que ese conocimiento nos va a servir para siempre, pero sí, para esa situación en particular, aplica para ese archivo.
The most...
para cada situación particular, no es que sirva para el futuro, sino que estando en esta posición en cada situación particular, entonces el Vyavasthit termina no teniendo una importancia muy profunda, podríamos decirlo así.
Identifying that, observing that in every situation, we could say that Vyavasthit, it will not be so profound or so deep or so heavy if we can observe it as Vyavasthit.
No, so this being who you are means you are accepting Vyavasthit.
Yeah, siendo quien somos, lo que hacemos es aceptar Vyavasthit.
You see, you are, or you understand that it is Vyavasthit, and by the very understanding of Vyavasthit, there is nothing further that needs to be done, you see.
O entendés que es Vyavasthit, y al entender Vyavasthit realmente no hay mucho más que tenga que ser hecho. Porque entendés y aceptás Vyavasthit.
It does Anila, it is whether Anila gets involved in the help, like the example of Patricia, or Anila continues to observe. Both are part of what happens. That is the discharge. That is Vyavasthit, you see.
Ya sea que Anila, volviendo al ejemplo de Patricia, ya sea que Anila se involucre en ayudar en esa situación, o que se mantenga observando esa situación, las dos forman parte de simplemente lo que sucede. Y lo que sucede es Vyavasthit.
Vyavasthit, this understanding and acceptance of Vyavasthit keeps you in the present only. Therefore, you are not concerned about future, or you're not concerned about, oh, I should have done this and I shouldn't have done this. You see, this is how it is. You see.
Yeah. Y entendiendo y aceptando Vyavasthit es que uno puede mantenerse en el presente. No importa el pasado y no importan los sí. ¿Qué si hubiese hecho, si hubiese? No. Acá y lo que es.
This is right. Evidence is scientific, circumstantial evidence is what is taking care of not only the person in front of me, like the example of Patricia, but also Anila. You see, both are both are puppets. Both.
La evidencia científico-circunstancial todo lo maneja, no solo a la persona que está frente mío, como en el ejemplo anterior, sino que también a Anila. Las dos son marionetas. Sí, Chris.
The evidence of the intellect of Anila is also an evidence, you see. So
La evidencia del intelecto de Anila también es una evidencia en todo esto.
So the evidences will come and go. The ego evidence will come. All of those things. All the evidences, seeing evidences will keep you occupied continuously.
Las evidencias van y vienen, y si nos mantenemos observando, nos van a mantener ocupados todo el tiempo, porque todo el tiempo están para ser observadas.
You see, you might say, okay, now let's go for a walk in the garden, right? And so Anila gets lost in enjoying the flowers, you see, the beautiful flowers, and enjoying the fragrance of the flowers and the sun, you see. And then you see Anila will get absorbed. Anila will get tanmayakar. She will see a beautiful flower and she will stop and all of those things, you see. So, but the knower is, it doesn't disappear. The knower is always there. You are always there.
Y bueno, y todo el tiempo, ¿no? Están las evidencias, y el conocedor o el observador no desaparece nunca, hasta cuando, por ejemplo, Anila va a dar un paseo, observa unas hermosas flores, huele el aroma delicioso, queda absorta en ellas, y eso que se metió, eso es Anila. Pero el observador que ve que se quedó absorta Anila no desaparece nunca. Son 265, Cris, dale.
Yes, and then,
bueno.
Ahí está lo que pregunte Sandra, que no ha preguntado.
Es que tiene que ver con lo que están diciendo, y era una duda que me quedaba. La aceptación de Vyavasthit, ¿sí? Que Sandra acepte con facilidad Vyavasthit, o le cueste aceptar Vyavasthit más allá de que entienda que es Vyavasthit. ¿Viene de la vida anterior o tiene que ver con el crecimiento espiritual de esta vida?
Ok, sigo yo, Patri.
Dale. Sos divina.
Sandra wants to know that, for example, she understands Vyavasthit, but it's not easy for her to accept Vyavasthit. That acceptance is related to her intellect, her spiritual path in this life, or it is because past life?
No, your desire is not only to understand Vyavasthit, but you also have accepted Vyavasthit 100%. You are not rejecting Vyavasthit even by a fraction. So you are safe. You are completely with Dada, you see. You now, Sandra's Prakruti, Sandra's makeup So what Sandra has brought from past life, you see, Sandra's internal stuff is such that it makes her feel that Sandra is not accepting Vyavasthit.
Ok, voy a empezar por el final. Es el Prakutri de Sandra que trae de la vida pasada, el que le hace sentir que no acepta, el que le hace sentir que no acepta fácilmente. Vos no solo entendés y querés entender y querés aceptar, sino que no lo negás ni en un en nada. Vos no lo negás en Sandra, pero es el Prakruti de Sandra el que trae el hacerte creer que no lo estás aceptando.
Sandra's Prakriti is such that she wants to boss over Carlos, you see.
El Prakruti de Sandra es tal que quiere ser el jefe por encima de Carlos, todo.
Yes.
We know.
Yes, boss over Carlos, but inside she has 100% acceptance of Vyavasthit. So at the end of the day, she understands that if Carlo listens or does not listen, it is Vyavasthit.
Pero dice que por más que tu Prakruti sea así, internamente sabes perfecta y completamente al final del día que Carlos, por ejemplo, escuche o no escuche, eso simplemente es Vyavasthit.
So, so you go to bed with Vyavasthit and you rise with Vyavasthit. It is Vyavasthit that makes Sandra wake up, and it is Vyavasthit that puts Sandra to sleep. And everything else that happens in between is all scientific circumstantial evidence, you see.
Y entonces te vas a dormir súper tranquila, sabiendo que es Vyavasthit el que te lleva a dormir, sabiendo que es Vyavasthit el que te hace quedar dormida, sabiendo que es Vyavasthit el que te hace despertar. Y todo lo demás es todo evidencia científico-circunstancial.
It may feel at times that you are rejecting Vyavasthit, but deepest inside, deep inside, you love Vyavasthit, you accept Vyavasthit, you will accept Amapura, so you accept all of this, you see, and that is who you are. Now you see this as junk, as faults, you see. And by seeing these faults, you become free from them, that's all, by seeing.
Entonces, bien profunda e internamente aceptás alma pura, aceptás Vyavasthit, sabes todo, aunque de vez en cuando esta aceptación pueda parecer falso o basura. Y es también en ese sentir lo falso, esa aceptación, ese rendirse, que también estás aceptando, descubriendo Vyavasthit.
And and Carlos may not even know it, but every night, Sandra is sad that these things are happening, and she knows she does not want it to happen, you see.
Me perdí. Creo que lo que dijo
puede ser que todas las noches que cuando se va a dormir, que puede ser que Carlos entienda o la escuche o no, Sandra sabe a la noche que todo es Vyavasthit.
Que todo es Vyavasthit.
Correct, right, Sandra?
Ella quiere estar en un lugar donde comprende que todo es Vyavasthit.
Gracias.
¡Qué grande! El tío Galleta.
Gracias a los cuatro.
She said thank you, the four of us.
Yes, right. So Vishuddhatma Bhagwan, our time is up. We will take leave. We are deeply grateful to Dada for giving us more. Yes, Christian, are you saying so? You wanted to say something, Christian?
No, it just was a question when you answered to Anil about the file and how it gets the layer went off or not, but we can save it for another time.
Okay, all right. So Vishuddhatma Bhagwan, highest namaskars to all of you.
Jai Namaskar Shuddha, thank you.
Thank you, Fabi. Yay, Satchidanand.
Gracias. Jai Sudam. Jai Satchidanand.